Hello world, Naji Coach and Nijai Nexi here. Strap in. Strap in, we're going for a ride. I give these warnings sometimes when I'm going to be more of my Fumasta side that tends to be very, very secretive. I'm a very secretive Fumasta, but I have to show sometimes, and so I'm going to show right now. A lot of times when I get like this, there is the ego, there is the anger we've mentioned before. Right now, you'll be seeing less of it in this filming, and that's because what happens is I don't know what I have to do. A lot of times I do feats, so I just get up. Get up for what you gotta do. What is that? I don't know, but I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it like a boss hero. If it's the last thing I fucking do, I'm gonna do that. If it's the last thing I fucking do, I'm gonna do that. Yep. So, a lot of times I'm talking on the camera and you've seen me before with the very strident ego and the ferociousness, things like that. It's because I'm talking to people that I don't have a high opinion of. I don't have a high opinion of the ongoings of most humans, although I have an extremely, supremely high opinion of humans. It's the greatest thing going, so I have the greatest opinion for it. However, what people are doing, not so much. Oh, by the way, I got me a coconut water and a real water, because this is high level, and when you do that, you don't know exactly how long it's going to go. You just got to go until you do the spell. Now, as you're watching, one thing that makes you nervous is like, I don't know if I can, 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 I don't know if I can. That's the crushing perfectionism. What? 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 A Balrog? Run! Run away from me, Balrog! Yeah, you do not want these eyes on you. Okay, so once you're able to form yourself into a shape-shifted form and then move forward through that, then you cleave through everything. But the kind of vision I got here is sort of like tossing a caber, but you don't know how big it is or how far it has to go, except you absolutely must toss it no matter how big it is, and you must toss it across the gap, whatever that is. Your Nijai, the knee will help shorten the gap, make you jump further, but still you gotta just get up and go as much as you humanly can, as much as your soul can, as much as you supernaturally, preternaturally, fucking, what, just do it. All right, so I'm showing you a little energy now, just, you know, where you need to be sometimes, or the energy you need to have in order to be on point. I'm not gonna smoothen this, but not in a restraining way. It's because I have things to do with this energy. I have a high level conversation to have, and when you're having high level conversation, I know I'll be spending this energy tossing cabers across ravines to save souls. So I know I'm gonna be doing that, and so yeah, I guess the best way of saying it is it's sort of like a spiritual challenge, you know, like an athlete, a metaphysical athlete, and a lot of times like elite athletes can be a bit because they got so much energy because they've trained themselves to do phenomenal feats, and they're kind of built now to do them. They've sort of specialized and kensei on doing these kinds of things. So sometimes modulating it down can be tricky, and you see them actually at their most sublime, their most heroic, when they're operating at a level that is somewhere at their level, because that's what their game's built for, that's what they've trained for. Okay, so this conversation is basically the pod layer upgrade, the pod layer patch, which is how other people can get involved with pod layer through ways that I personally, as me, a Naiji badass that is beyond everyone else's game, that's just a fact, I personally would not go these ways. But Nexi says that when I study history, I see repeating patterns that for people to learn, you need to be able to come in to what is already going on and not just level everything. Although as a Naiji, my way naturally is just scrap everything, start over. Why are we fucking afraid of a blank canvas? I'm not. Okay, so that's where I come from. But the world is built with the synonymy of the whole tribe, which has other mojos than me. And Nexi's saying, there are ways people can come in by upgrading the spiritual models they come from, by learning the correct math, the correct principles to apply to their ongoing model, so they can make it a pod layer version. They'll get a pod layer patch, and they now are working at those upper level principles the pod layer has, those upper level math, forensic data, all the stuff we're doing. They have that, and they're not violating that highest trajectory, but they are not, they don't need to slough off their traditional or things that they have already taken into themselves, they've already internalized and do work for them in very important ways. The mathematical answer to that is yes, it is possible to heal things, retool them, adjust the ongoing course of their legacy. Those are possible to be done. That means they need to be done. I must allow for them. So I have to be Fumasa to do this because I need to have Nexi very strongly with me and us together in union on a great purpose. And that is, I want to help save the world. Not help save the world, I mean, I want to save the world. I want that, and then I want to help make that happen. I want other people to help out, but that's my goal. World saved. Human species saved. Because we've gotten messed up a bit, and now it's getting dangerous, and as a species we could actually end ourselves or purposefully, stupidly, toxically warp our evolutionary track. So these things concern me greatly. So this kind of came from discussion on Christianity that's going on. That's a very tricky subject. However, the visions I'm being given are that there are people in just about every model out there that are like neo-progressive versions of that, and they're taking natural law forward as best they can using that model. And if they could somehow continue to use that model but with more upgraded math, that would be the ideal trajectory, and that equation is possible. I'm sort of wary here is because it's possible, but it can easily go wrong, and the first place that goes wrong usually is people get confused. So I'm going to lay out here some basic principles of what I consider to be a vision of unity with pod layer and all the other models out there that are willing and capable of upgrading themselves to the new understanding pod layers bring in. It is irrefutable, non-negotiable. These are just facts, and the next generations are going to be able to read Mojo way better than this generation, so on and so forth. So these are just facts, and humans are going to know them more and more. So I'm just saving you guys a lot of time. All the models out there, I don't care if you're monotheistic, Buddhism, atheist, secular humanist, pagans, whatever you're rocking out there, Hindus, it doesn't matter. Whatever it is, you're going to have to address this. And you really, a lot of you haven't had ability to address this because the Scientific and Spirituality Index had a Rosetta Stone of the human souls missing, which is a critical bridge. And because of that, there's like scientific scorekeeping and spiritual scorekeeping, and somehow these two are antithetical to each other. No, they're not. They don't oppose. They're just part of one spectrum. So pod layer with the Rosetta Stone, the human soul, and all the things that brings out implication-wise, we now can have a universal standard for seeker. And going off of the universal standard, well, actually we've already had a universal, I think, standard, but it was not a universal unifying standard. Because I think the universal standard for seeker, most people were like, okay, you got to put truth first. You have to be willing to challenge all your assumptions, spiritual or scientific, challenge your assumptions, step away, come back, have self-doubt, doubt everything, look. Keep looking with fresh eyes. Put down what you know, pick it back up again. Put it down, walk away, come back. That's the way of the seeker. Then go forward, learn, stretch. Keep getting a stronger, higher lens. Go to more places, talk to more people, see more media, so that you have a greater understanding. You want this. Okay, all seekers, there's no one, I think, from any model out there, any of the major models, spiritual, scientific, whatever, that political, that sounds good. Okay, so why is it that we generally agree with these kinds of standards for being a seeker, but then it falls apart once it goes to working it out in the practicals? That's because practicals are done by states. They're statehoods. They're done by nationalities. They're done by families. They're done by cultural traditions. That's where the math is off. So Nexi says, because Nexi, being an Adirond, does have a very strong sense of nostalgia. Nexi has Vi. She has Vi fetishes. She really likes the ancient this and that and the way they did this here and the ritual they do there. Like there's lots of traditional rituals, very honorable, spiffy ones that I say they're honorable and spiffy because Nexi shows that to me. Because again, I'm a Naiji, I'm a badass. I just go out and stayed most of my life out in the woods, in my lairs, and to various special facilities, dojos of all kinds, to just like train on stuff. Okay, so if I have an idea of what to do, I naturally start from scratch. But she has always shown me visions of like doing some sort of like Zen Buddhist thing, except they redefined the math to be yang yin. So and again, her being with Ni and Jai, is it possible for them? I had this friend, he's like a Buddhist, and like, could you do math for him? Like, yes, technically I can do. Nice, you know what I'm talking about. Like, I mean, yeah, but why? So that's. And Podlair's position coming in, because Naiji always bring in new ways. So Podlair at the spear point is going to have to be like top, starting from scratch Naiji. And then people can come and learn from there, because it'll be learned with a generation of people that their cultural bubble was Podlair. And they don't have to do any Vi retrofitting of anything that's not Podlair. They didn't have an existence. They were born in a time frame when Podlair's already around, and in a bubble where everything they know from baby on up to their full lifespan, they always had a Podlair bubble. Okay, so that's what I want to build. That's what I want to live in. That's what I want to die. When I die, I want to die in a bubble that's just Podlair, and everyone in there is Podlair, and they're having babies that are born there and raised that are Podlair. I'll leave and still travel the world, but I'll be like leaving, like you leave, like that will be my home in my mind. Like I'm a citizen of Podlair land, and wherever, even if I like go out of like a country that I'm technically legally a citizen of, for me, my first citizenship is to being a human, which means being Podlair, because Podlair means being a pioneer of the human spirit. So, yeah. All right. So that kind of just got me into the mood. Now I'm gonna talk a little more about the particulars. Hope in mind, I'm kind of like flowing all around, because this is how I talk and think when I'm really trying to get something big, artistic, visionary. And so I've always, as you know, been ongoing. Nexi wants me to show more of my process to you. And she's saying this example here, because this is a high level question, I should definitely be more raw, especially since I'll be not roaring at you so much in this, because I have to spend all my energy tossing teacher cape. Yeah, I'm basically like tossing teaching lessons. Yes, like cabers or big boulders, I have to hurl them across things. And after a while, when you're hurling, you just shoot truth fire. But when you shoot truth fire like this, it doesn't sound like roaring, because the words are just so important and heavy that takes most of the energy, the visionary drive energy. So it's almost like the roaring, the truth fire, it's like you put that energy into the concepts, the height of them, the scope of them, the implications, that you kind of like breathe truth fire, and you can be quiet about nugget that changes the world. You kind of just, you can be fairly la la la, like I'm la la la, but that's because I'm nugget that changes the world. And another one. All right, let's make a fresco. Okay, so On that, I see the major issue. Well, there's two major issues. One is that people are not at the level of having an understanding of the human conditions. They say humans are this and that, and they basically almost every word out of their mouth from whatever language they speak, it's mathematically incorrect. Like most humans, I don't think, can speak more than a few sentences about anything that they believe in. It could be just sports. It won't matter. They won't be able to speak and not say incorrect math. So that's like a global toxic poison condition we're all in. I'm finding out right now. Like the 10K, that to me is like the first dose of me having a purified understanding of what's going on about humans. And I need to keep getting it bigger and more pure. And I'll give it to you guys. But we have to all accept that every teaching we've heard of so far has been from a context of human beings who are not understanding how to be human beings. I know most of the spiritual models, they have like this divinity thing. And the problem with divinity, if you don't define that in the correct mathematical terms, because I'm not opposed to the word divine if you give it the right math to it, but most people, to me, divine, it basically means that you got a portal beyond the understanding of any human at that time, and somehow through that portal, an artistic, visionary portal, whatever, like a bunch of natural law is pumped through. Okay, there's a math definition, and there's like, you can say it more poetically. But if you define divine as apex forever and or infallible, and people tend to do that, so that's a problem. See, I don't have a problem with divine. I can even have the concept of different, mimetic legacies having divine moments in their religion's history. If we define them as like occurrences that happen, like volcanoes going off, like that's stuff that happens, like humans. Within the human event, the human phenomenon, that's one of the phenomena that happens in there. It tends to happen around Naiji, that particular specialist in the species. But still, that happens. Okay, yeah, we need to actually have an understanding of like, that happens. So, if we understand that happens, meaning it happened before, it happened then, it'll happen again, it happens around the world in lots of different forms that are different than yours, then I don't mind things like divine. I don't mind things like the word prophet. But again, if anywhere in there like apex understanding forever and or infallible, you can't have those. And this is critical because a lot of spiritual models, they think that that's like a sciencey thing. No, it's not. This is about being a seeker. At the base you have science, on the other side of the spectrum base you have spirituality. And the apex is seeker, and there are seeker principles, and they apply to both science and spirituality. So it's seeker down to science and spirituality. Both those kids got to get in line with seeker. Okay, so yeah, because a lot of times they're too busy saying like, oh, you're spiritual, so you don't know what you're doing, and you can't tell me what to do. And spiritual's like, oh, science, you don't know what you're doing, and you can't tell me what to do. And it's like, no. There's a parent, it's called seeker, okay, and it tells you both what to do. And you should be doing the same thing, which is seeking. All right, so on that, the spiritual models sometimes think that a certain principle is often associated with science. Doesn't go to them, but it does because it's a secret principle. And that is that it's never what you thought it was. And that's the joy. You can always have a great understanding so you can live a great life. But then what makes it really great is there's always going to be something for the next generations to do because there's always more to know. And as we learn more about what it is, then our perspective on it will shift according to the new data coming in. That's the next one, data. Spiritual models seem to think that they're not subject to the requirements of data, but they are. You just are. I'm an IG, and so I natively operate very high up in the SS index, but I have modulation powers for a reason. Nexi, she has modulation powers for a reason. So there's a reason why you need to be able to do things that show in a heroic fashion why people should listen to you. Even if they don't understand it. Like a lot of people don't understand E = MC². But people who use it in equations, you can see that their machines work better. Their aeronautical, flight plans, it works better. So both science and spirituality, you can say one is like super mega genius, intellect think tanky stuff, or like visions, prophecy, divine intervention, things like this. Either way, they're basically saying the same thing. You can't fucking get it. Okay, so this is why it's so dangerous, is because a lot of what runs everything, I'm a Naiji, is stuff people can't understand. Most of the world is run by scientific principles being enacted that actually only a small part of the population actually can understand. And then spirituality is largely people getting what that is by a few people having visions and prophecy and things like that, and they see those people and also the heroic way they live their lives, the code of conduct, the hopefully honorable ways they do rituals for themselves and the rest of the tribe. That stuff guides the rest of the tribe on what truth is. Why is it true? Because that person said they had a vision and they looked really vision-y. And when they talked, it sounded really, really smart, like it made things make sense in my head. Okay, so again, a lot of people don't understand upper level spiritual thought. But that's what's running most things. Whatever upper level spiritual thought got a hold of truth nuggets in the spiritual realm and then was able to get the humans to go for that. Okay, so that's just what's going on, and anyone from any model I think should be able to acknowledge that. Okay, except I can already hear people going, well, I don't know, and that's the case. You won't be able to be in union with Pod Layer. But I hope that you will. And that's this. Natural law is it. That is everything. And the everything is infinite mystery. It is energy evolving. It is natural law. And it doesn't have an ability to be understood as anything other than all. And so any attempt to say that the all is like any kind of being that has anything to do with gender or title or rank, lord, it just doesn't work. Like, this sounds important. Natural law, lord. No, law. Lords have very particular personal interests. Law is for everyone. Natural law is for every fiber of being in energy evolving and all that will be. So it just doesn't think in those terms. So any attempt to call it like that is just mathematically wrong. And then, the big one here, is to say that whatever that construct was is bigger than natural law. Like, natural law, sure, and then God made natural law. No, natural law is all of the math of everything that's going on. And that's best understood not as any kind of like normal human-like entity. That's an incorrect projection to do that. And then to say that projection is larger than the all force. No, the all force is everything. That's why it's the all force. The all force, it's the one, it's energy evolving, it's natural law, it is it. Even these words are an approximation of language. And see how much I've shed any kind of normal cultural or gender or title, rank kind of things. It's not like that. And even that is still a loss of fidelity to its pure math. So we have to all understand that. We all are not understanding the highest scientific principles or the highest spiritual. We're all in a state of learning. That's important. So the all force, the natural law, the energy evolving, it wants us to know more. So anything where you are required to not know more is wrong. That's going to cause a lot of models to have issues. But next he says there's neo-progressive versions of just about every model out there that wants to do that. I'm like, okay, Podler can show you how to have all your soul work and things like that while following these basic principles of being a seeker so that you're not just deluding yourselves. Okay, you don't want to delude yourself. You want to know, and you want to know more. And in order to know more, you have to know that you don't know. That's really, really important. You have to know what I know. For example, when someone's talking to me and saying, you know, I don't know this, blah, 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 like, no, you think in terms of heaven and hell. I can think in those terms too. I have very deeply at one point. Even now, I can still simulate that kind of thought process. You actually don't understand what I'm doing. So even though I have so much of natural law still to learn, I have more than you, and so that voice should have its way here. Vice versa, we should all be adjusting our voice as we learn what natural law is, and we show the most respect, the most honor, the most pure worship. Now, I'm comfortable with the term worship because, like I said, I come from a spiritual background. The science stuff is things I discovered through my spiritual experiments. But long story short is you need to actually worship it by offering doubt. By doubt, trust me, Najee are really big on the genius thing. You doubt so you can put more info in there. Or you can refresh info. Every time like you refresh your computer, a lot of times cool upgrade things happen. So you have to say, natural law, I honor you by seeing all the magnificent things that you show me. I see them. It's important that I be able to know you as best I can and have some pride in that. But then also, I feel a want, a hunger, a dissatisfaction that there's more of you to know. And when I do that, like my very spirit forms, they change. I'll leave spirit forms out here at this point. I'll say my autonomous entities that come from there. So I can use a mathematical term, that's fine. But with them, the relationship, the different things going on with them, the interactions, the titles, all that, their names, it changed over the years of me knowing them. So that applies to the all force. We're always learning, so it doesn't like when you say you know what it is when you don't. And it doesn't like when you don't say what you know to be true when you know it to be true. So natural law is very 4951 on that. Okay, so those are big, I'm talking a bit here, but there's just kind of few major concepts, but they affect everything. So divinity, what is that? And me and Dee was talking, things like divine experience, divine humans, divine artifacts. Podler allows for that, and so we actually can import any model from the world and make it Podler. But in the conversion process, the upgrade process, however you feel comfortable with coming in, to whatever degree you feel comfortable coming in, there is a series of gates, of principal gates that you will have to be able to purify yourself with the truth fire of it. So, like, if you can read Mojo, then you can read that they're gay people. That's not my specialty, is that, but I've seen enough of the phenomenon of humans and human story that I actually can, on repeatable occasion, see the state of someone with them and their other, whatever their orientation is. And then because I can do that on a regular basis, then within that, on a regular basis, I can see that there are gay storylines. Okay, so that's just a fact. So once that's been established as we can now see that, any model that says that's not true, it has to be updated. So, I don't know the answers to all these, and again, just to be perfectly honest with you, I'm not inclined to really spend my life figuring it out. But Nexi says the right thing is to make a way open and make a door open for people from other models who want to talk with Podler and hopefully eventually talk with me, but you'll have to get your level up. I mean, if you can't talk at a high level, then there's no point. But Nexi says there are high level, like neo-progressive versions in like almost every model out there. Even traditional models have like a neo-progressive form, and if they can be cool with it, they can understand their math in a different way. They can redefine the math of their words. Again, this seems like I have none of those conscious powers or drives, but Nexi does, and I I love her, and right now I'm in Fu Master form, so she and I are like a unified team, kind of like, to-do, she's on my back like this, to-do, and so we are one. And I can see that's just the way of it, and I can see history, and I'm like, that's just the way it works, fine. So I have to do it well. And that means, first of all, like saying like where I'm at right now, I have a lot of unprecedented feats to be knocking out in the near future here that are going to solidify Podlair as the apex service provider for a scientific or spiritual way to, live your life, to understand your existence. So I'm mainly about that. But this is something I want to leave open. So I kind of like say I leave a door open. That's like her Jai is getting my Ji to go, okay, I'm leaving this door open. But the Ni and Nai is I'm moving fast. So you'll have to be moving up to where I'm at and then continue to be able to elevate yourself so that we're not like rehashing silly, stupid questions. Like the data, you have to see the data. I'm not going to be dancing around with anyone who can't see like souls. I'm showing you how to read these souls, so anyone can do it. If you actually can't do that to any decent degree, then there's no point talking. All right, next is, I think you need to be showing a willingness to go and explore things and to do hypotheticals and do theoreticals. That's important too. Is another scientific kind of principle that people see, but it's not really scientific, it's actually seeker. And that's that you have a tier system. And this gets back to a lot of models wanting to think that they're divine in a way that makes them apex forever and things like that. And seekers just shouldn't think in those terms. My model's apex. Even myself, and I do think Podlair is apex, I'm doing this right now, and that's not the actual point. Although for me being an IG, that's largely my side of it because that needs to happen to do the main thing. But the main thing is saving the world and getting truth out to people in the best way possible through every conduit that is possible. That's the plan. So in science, you have like basically everything's a theory. But at the top, there are theories based on stuff that has a lot of data and experimental evidence to back it up. And the repeatability and predictability of it are very high. All right, so those are seen as theories, but with proof. Okay, spirituality somehow thinks it's not beholden to this. Yes, you are. There's certain spiritual practices like being loving. Okay, I'd put that up as a principle that any seeker has probably learned through their own life, and that it's about love. It's about truth, love, and everything else. But it's in the very heavy spiritual way. Truth and love are a really big deal. Okay, but then for some reason you kind of have one tier. A lot of spiritual models where you put everything as the same level as proven, but it's not. Even spiritual models, if you know what's going on, you should be able to predict things. You should be able to do experiments in areas that are supernaturally and get results back, but you don't. If you go anywhere in the world, you mainly just get, there are different ecstatic experiences and rapture moments and whatnot, but humans from all models do that. So they basically just put on a show. And yeah, put on a show, and then also there's some intimidation there, but really I guess that's just part of the show. So really just they put on a show. There needs to be an understanding that if we are going to unite as a species, you cannot have people putting speculations that have no predictive power over speculations that do have predictive power. And science and spirituality, especially the high levels, are very big into prediction. So the rules, being a seeker means you know what it is all about, and that means you have powers of prediction. So this whole triangle here, you should be having prediction even if only a few people can understand why, even if only one person can understand why, even if no one understands why, even if only a few people can do it, they don't even know why it's like that. Okay, but is it repeatable? Because then we can study it. It has to be in some way. even for like the whiffy part of it, I know Minaj is